I am Caroline. I am 28 years old, and I married a man I did not love. I did it to save my father. That is the truth I carry every day. I did not dream of this life when I was younger. I thought love would be warm. I thought it would be soft and kind. I thought it would feel like home. But my life did not follow that path. My father lost his business, slowly. It did not happen in one day. It was quiet. It was painful. Bills came in small piles at first. Then they came in large stacks. I watched him sit at the table every night, looking at numbers, holding his head in his hands. My mother said little. She just made tea and placed it beside him. I worked at a small office. My job was simple. I typed reports, I answered emails, I smiled at people I did not know. My salary was not enough. I tried to help, but it felt like pouring water into a hole that had no bottom. One evening, my father called me into the living room. His voice was low. His eyes looked tired. "Caroline," he said, "there is a way out." I sat down slowly. I already felt fear in my chest. He told me about a man. His name was Victor. He was rich, very rich. He had helped many people before, but always with something in return. I did not understand at first. Then my father looked away. "He wants to marry you." The room felt cold. I could not speak for a moment. "Why me?" I asked. My father did not answer right away. He just said, "He chose you." I wanted to say no. The word was there, inside me. It was strong. But I looked at my father's face. I saw fear. I saw shame. I saw a man who had already lost too much. I said yes. I said it quietly. I said it once, and everything changed. The wedding was small. There were no friends, no music, no laughter, just a few people standing in a quiet room. Victor stood beside me. He was tall. His face was calm, too calm. He did not smile, not even once. When he looked at me, it felt like he was looking through me, not at me. We said our vows like we were reading a contract, and maybe we were. After the wedding, I moved into his house. It was large, too large. The walls were white and clean. The floors were smooth and cold. Everything was perfect, but nothing felt alive. There were many rooms, but I stayed in only a few. Victor showed me around on the first day. His voice was steady. "This is your room," he said. "Not our room, just your room." I nodded. He pointed to another door. "That is my office. Please do not enter without asking." I nodded again. Then he looked at me for a moment. "If you need anything, tell the staff." Not him, the staff. That was how our marriage began. We lived in the same house, but we lived separate lives. Every morning I woke up early. I made my bed, even though someone else would do it later. I needed to feel useful. I needed to feel real. I went to the kitchen sometimes, even though there was a cook. I made tea for myself. I sat by the window and watched the street outside. Victor was often gone. When he was home, he stayed in his office. The door was always closed. We ate dinner at the same table, but we did not talk much. "Do you need anything?" he would ask. "No," I would say. That was our conversation. Days passed like this. Quiet. Empty. Safe, but empty. I told myself this was the price. My father's debts were gone. He smiled again. My mother slept better at night. I should have felt peace, but I did not. At night, I lay in my bed and stared at the ceiling. The house was silent. Too silent. I felt like a guest in my own life. Sometimes I wondered what Victor thought about. I wondered why he chose me. There were many women he could have married, women who were beautiful, confident, full of life. I was just me, ordinary. One evening, I walked past his office. The door was slightly open. That was unusual. I stopped. I did not mean to look inside, but I did. Victor was sitting at his desk. There were papers in front of him, many papers. His face looked different. Not cold, not empty. He looked tired. He held a photo in his hand. I could not see it clearly. Then he placed it down quickly and closed the door. The next morning, everything was the same again. His face was calm, his voice was steady, but something in me had changed. I started to notice small things. The way he paused before speaking. The way he looked at me sometimes for just a second longer than needed. The way he always made sure I had everything, even when I did not ask. If I said I liked a book, it would appear on my table the next day. If I mentioned I felt cold, the room would be warmer that night. He never said it was him, but I knew. It was quiet care, hidden care. Still, he kept his distance, and I kept mine. One afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other side was low and strange. "Stay away from him," the voice said. My heart started to beat fast. "Who is this?" I asked, but the call ended. I stood there, holding my phone, feeling a fear I did not understand. That evening, Victor came home earlier than usual. His face was serious. "Did you receive a call today?" he asked. I looked at him, surprised. "Yes." He nodded slowly. "Do not answer unknown numbers again." His voice was firm. "Why?" I asked. He did not answer right away. Then he said, "It is nothing you need to worry about." But I was already worried. For the first time, I felt that his world was not as simple as it looked, and somehow I was now part of it. That night, I could not sleep. I sat by the window again. The city lights were far away. The house was quiet. I thought about my life before this. It was hard, but it was clear. Now everything felt hidden. Everything felt controlled. And yet, in the middle of that fear, there was a strange feeling. He had come home early. He had asked about me. He had noticed. It was a small thing, but in a house full of silence, small things felt very big. I rested my head against the glass and closed my eyes. I did not love him, but I was no longer sure that I felt nothing. Something was changing, and I did not know what it would become. The days after that phone call felt different. The house was still quiet, but I was no longer calm inside it. I noticed more things now. There was always a car parked across the street at night. It stayed there for hours. Sometimes it left when the sun came up. One morning, I asked one of the staff about it. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Just security." Security. That word stayed in my mind. Victor became more careful after that day. He checked the doors himself at night. He spoke less, but when he looked at me, his eyes stayed a moment longer, like he was making sure I was still there, like he was making sure I was safe. It was a strange kind of attention, quiet but strong. One evening, I found a book on my table again. I had only mentioned it once, days ago. I touched the cover slowly. I wanted to thank him. That night at dinner, I tried. "Thank you for the book," I said. He looked at me, just for a second. Then he nodded. "You're welcome." That was all, but something in his voice felt softer than before. I started to wait for those small moments. The way he would ask, "Did you eat?" The way he would stand near the door until I entered a room safely. The way he would stop speaking when I looked tired. He never said more than he needed, but he never ignored me, and that mattered. Slowly, the emptiness in the house began to change shape. It was still quiet, but it was no longer cold all the time. One afternoon, I made tea for 2 people. I do not know why I did it. Maybe I was tired of drinking alone? I carried the second cup to his office. My hand felt a little nervous as I knocked. "Come in," he said. I opened the door slowly. He looked up from his desk. "I made tea," I said. He looked at the cup, then at me. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he stood up and walked toward me. "Thank you," he said. We sat in the same room, not speaking, just drinking tea. It felt new. It felt strange, but not bad. That was the first time I felt something close to peace in that house. Days passed again, quiet, steady days. Then one evening, everything changed. Victor did not come home at his usual time. That was not new. But this time I felt uneasy. I sat in the living room, waiting. Hours passed. The clock moved slowly. My hands felt cold. When the door finally opened, I stood up quickly. Victor walked in. His steps were slower than usual, and then I saw it. There was a small line of blood on his sleeve. My heart dropped. "What happened?" I asked, stepping closer. "It's nothing," he said quickly. But it was not nothing. I could see the tension in his face, the way he held his arm. Without thinking, I reached for him. "Sit down," I said. He looked at me surprised. I did not wait for his answer. I guided him to the chair. My hands were shaking, but I tried to stay calm. I brought a clean cloth. I cleaned the small wound carefully. He watched me the whole time. Not speaking, just watching. I could feel his eyes on my face. I could feel the silence between us. "Does it hurt?" I asked. "A little," he said. I nodded. My fingers moved slowly, gently. I was careful. I did not want to cause him more pain. When I finished, I stepped back. "There," I said quietly. "Thank you," he said. But this time, his voice was different. It was softer, deeper. We stayed there for a moment, looking at each other. And then something broke. Not in a bad way, but like a wall that had been there for too long. "I'm sorry," he said suddenly. I blinked. "For what?" "For bringing you into this." His voice was low, honest. I felt something move inside my chest. "I chose this," I said. He shook his head. "You chose to save your father, not this life." His words stayed in the air between us. For the first time, I saw something clear in his eyes. Regret. "Why me?" I asked softly. The question I had carried from the beginning. He looked away for a moment. Then he looked back at me. And this time, he did not hide. "Because I already knew you," he said. I felt my breath stop. "What do you mean?" He took a slow breath. "I saw you years ago," he said, "at a small bookstore. You were helping an old woman carry her books. You stayed with her for a long time. You smiled, even when no one was watching." My mind tried to remember. A small place? A quiet day? "I went back there many times," he continued, "just to see you again." My heart started to beat faster. "But I never spoke to you. I didn't think I should." "Why?" I asked. "Because my life is complicated," he said. "Dangerous sometimes." He looked down at his hands. "When I heard about your family's situation, I saw a way," he said. "A way to help you, and a way to keep you close." His voice became quieter. I told myself it was just an agreement, something simple, something controlled. He looked up again, but it was never simple for me. The room felt still. Every word he said settled inside me slowly. "You didn't need this marriage," I said. He shook his head. "No," he said, "I didn't." Silence filled the space again, but it was not empty anymore. It was full of truth. I sat down across from him. My hands rested in my lap. For the first time, I looked at him without fear, without distance. I saw a man who had been careful for too long, a man who had chosen silence instead of risk. And I saw something else, someone who had been there before I even knew. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. He gave a small, tired smile. "Because I didn't want you to feel trapped," he said. "I thought if I stayed distant, you would feel free in your own way." I let out a slow breath. "But I felt alone," I said. His face changed. Pain crossed his eyes. "I know," he said quietly. We sat there, both understanding something we had missed before. Love had been there, just not in the way I expected. Not loud, not bright, but quiet, patient, hidden. I stood up slowly and walked to the window. I looked outside, but I was not really seeing anything. I was thinking about my father, about the wedding, about the long, silent days, and about this moment. I turned back to him. "I didn't marry you because I loved you," I said. "I know," he replied. "But," I paused. The word felt new, strange. "But I don't feel nothing anymore." He did not speak. He just listened. "I see what you do," I said, "even when you don't say it." My voice was soft now, and I feel it. The room was very quiet. "Love didn't come first for me," I said, "but maybe it can come later." Slowly, he stood up. Not too close, not too far. "I don't need you to say anything more," he said. His voice was calm again, but warm. "That is enough." And for the first time, I believed him. Days passed again after that night, but everything felt different. We still spoke little. We still lived simply. But now the silence felt shared, not empty. Sometimes we sat in the same room without speaking. Sometimes he asked small questions. Sometimes I answered with more than one word. And sometimes we smiled, just a little. I still woke up early. I still made my bed. I still sat by the window with my tea. But now there was another cup on the table. Not always, but often. And when it was there, it did not feel strange anymore. It felt right. I do not know when love began. It did not arrive in one moment. It did not ask for attention. It grew slowly, like something quiet finding its place. I married him to save my father. That was the truth. But now there is another truth. I stayed because I wanted to. And that feels different. Very different. Love, I think, is not always a fire. Sometimes it is a small light. You do not see it at first, but if you stay long enough, it begins to warm you. And one day, you realize you are no longer cold.